Insightful, engaging, dynamic, authentic, empowering, informative, transformative, controversial, unbiased, impactful. This is Politics Aside with Roleece Brookes. Hello, and welcome back to Politics Aside with Roleece Brookes. Thank you so much for the support of our premiere episode, which was on Caribbean citizenship by investment. The feedback I've received so far has been great, encouraging, inspiring as well, and it has also opened a new conversation, so I'm happy to be here with episode number 2, which should be a very interesting episode. For me, I like it because I'm interested in it as well, and also because I think it started around 2022. We heard the saying about Prime Minister Mia Mottley being like the Prime Minister of the Caribbean, and all of a sudden it seems that's how it seemed, like all of a sudden Mia Mottley became kind of like a buzzword, not just for us in CARICOM, but also on the global stage. And a lot of people are still trying to figure out why. And I'll tell you why. So in 2022, there was the launch of the Bridgetown Initiative or Bridgetown Agenda, whichever name you might know it by, which basically, how do I explain it? I make sure I have my pen and paper here, because the Bridgetown Initiative, it can become technical, but it really boils down to a few matters, which we will dissect in this episode. And I'm also happy to receive comments, feedback, if you want a follow-up on this episode. So first of all, we saw a clip circulating recently of Mia, saying she wants money.
I want money. I want money. You understand?
In short, that is exactly what the Bridgetown Initiative boils down to. Like, we want money, we want the reformation of the international financial institutions and architecture structure, so the IMF, the World Bank, and other Bretton Woods institution. I don't want you to just take it from me, so of course I have my clips, and we're going to show you a few clips, probably a few clips, and then we discuss and another clip, because I don't want you to get lost. It's very easy to get lost in this discussion. So here we go. Let's get into it. What has Mia Mottley been up to?
The development deficit caused by centuries of exploitation is now affecting our capacity to build the resilience that is necessary in our nations. Countries being forced to choose between development and building of resilience to fight climate. In our small island states, we value education and healthcare and the dignity of life, and therefore it will be anathema for us to tell our citizens that we do not have the space to provide for you those things that were the promise of independence. It is compounded by the failure of the developed world to accept that reparatory justice is a solemn obligation which we must confront.
Okay, so if you know Lady Mottley, her speeches are always filled with, words that we have to break down. But in that second clip, she spoke about, and I made a note, countries having to balance development and the resilience to fight climate change, which, if you think about it, it's a heavy statement. Not only is it a heavy statement, I think it's a cause to pause and reflect, because if you're saying that leaders are having to choose development versus investing in resiliency, it's kind of given stagnation, right? Because, so are you saying we have to choose one or the other? But why can't they happen concurrently? You know, why can't on one hand we invest in development, human, economic, and social development, and on the other hand, we build and bolster our climate resiliency? You know, that's my question. Let's go into the next clip.
Restricted access to capital, its disproportionately high costs, barring us from doing that which we must, its inadequate scale, and the overwhelming burden of debt often imposed on us by circumstances beyond our control. These are all now combining to force governments in the world's poorest countries, and frankly, across many vulnerable middle-income countries, to devote more resources to debt service than to health and education, and in some instances, even infrastructure.
So again, here, what is Prime Minister Mottley saying? Is Prime Minister Mottley saying that because they have a restricted access to capital, that they aren't able to focus on developing the health and education sectors? Because in my opinion, Barbados is how many years now independence? Let's see. In November next month, Barbados would have been an independent state for 58 years. Over the past 58 years, no doubt we have seen economic growth at some point, national development, human and social development at some point. So, although I understand where Prime Minister Mottley is coming from, and we will see what it eventually boils down to, I have to ask the question only now. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm concerned. Like, what happened or what is happening? Because their debt is nothing new. You know, independence, that has been a struggle. That's nothing new either. And certainly, Prime Minister Mottley is not new to this game either. I think she was a minister in some former administration back in the day, and I'll fact check that. Let me do that now. Great. So in 1994, Prime Minister Mottley was actually the Minister of Education, Youth Affairs, et al., and probably some other ministries. So my thing is, Prime Minister Mottley is not new to this. And what if prime ministers before her had gone to the United Nations and present this speech and tell them we need money for our people. You know, like I'm just trying to, I'm really trying to dissect. It's clearly a top down approach that we're seeing here when she goes and present this speech, and we're still on the Bridgetown Initiative. But as I said, my question is only now. But let's play the next clip before I jump to any conclusion.
That is why, my friends, we launched yesterday the third iteration of the Bridgetown Initiative, which identifies three key principles, very simply. One, we must change the rules of the international financial system and reform its governance and instruments. Two, we must shock-proof vulnerable economies by dealing with debt and liquidity in a comprehensive, development-focused manner. And if we need to give countries a shot of liquidity like we give them a shot of adrenaline to avoid them falling off the cliff of death, then we must do so. And thirdly, we must augment financing by boosting country capacity to invest in resilience by several means, including what has been announced already, the rechanneling of special drawing rights through our multilateral development partners, but that will only be truly effective if there is another issuance of SDRs in the near future.
Okay, so the Bridgetown Initiative 3.0 was launched this year, a few weeks ago, maybe 10 or so days ago, right? And she outlined that it basically tackles three key elements. One being, as I mentioned earlier, the change or reform of international financial institutions, the IMF, World Bank, etc. Shock-proof vulnerable economies by dealing with debt and liquidity in a comprehensive development manner. In other words, give countries money, restructure debt, or extend debt forgiveness, in other words. And then lastly, she said, boost investment for resilience through the rechanneling of SDRs, which are special drawing rights. And you might ask, what are SDRs? And I tried to break it down. It's like a trading system within the IMF, and I tried to break it down. So here I have a type of money that countries use with each other. They were created by the IMF to help countries when they run low on regular money like US dollars or euros. Special drawing rights are not cash you can spend, but countries can trade them for real money if they need to. It's like having extra credit countries can use in tough times. So Prime Minister Mottley is asking for the rechanneling of SDRs, these rights, like allow us, give us some space and flexibility to withdraw SDRs so we can get actual money, and that's where the liquidity comes in, right? And then we're going to play a next clip.
My friends, we are reminded that 2024 is the final year of the United Nations Decade for the People of African Descent. Much has been achieved, but the recognition, the justice, and the development for people of African descent that was promised by this decade has, to say the least, not yet been fully realized. And it is for this reason that the Caribbean community joins the growing chorus and my own country in particular, for the immediate proclamation of a second decade to complete the unfinished work and address the matter of reparations for slavery and colonialism. And the Bridgetown Initiative has allowed us to keep the debate going because we need to change, as I said Monday morning in this hall, the belief that we can have short-term money financing development and building resilience.
Right. So beyond climate change, beyond climate action, in my opinion, and I'm very much open to be corrected by anyone who is actually working on the Bridgetown Initiative, but we have access to the Bridgetown Initiative from 1 to 3. They're actually on the website, and we will put that website in the link. We'll put that link somewhere in this podcast for you so you can have access as well. But so from 2022, after the COVID pandemic, we saw this conversation starting with climate crisis at the forefront of the debate. And then we saw a gradual progression into Prime Minister Mottley speaking about polycrises, right? And in Bridgetown 3.0, she came out clearly and she said reparations. You know, that word that people of developed countries kind of, you know. And so I asked myself, is the Bridgetown Initiative a pathway to reparations? I'll leave you to ponder on that as we take a break and we come back to wrap up.
Insightful, engaging, dynamic, authentic, empowering, informative, transformative, controversial, unbiased, impactful. This is Politics Aside with Roleece Brookes.
Welcome back. I hope you're still with me on this Bridgetown Initiative discussion and basically getting a better idea of what Prime Minister Mia Mottley has been up to and what has been her consistent call for action for over the last 3 years. As we saw in the two final clips, that at the end of the day, it appears as if the Bridgetown Initiative is another call or a type of call or a pathway to reparations. And somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do it. We do have the CARICOM Reparations Commission, if I got that correctly, headed by Sir Hilary Beckles. They've been doing work for an extended period of time. And so that's another thing, because if in fact the Bridgetown Initiative is a pathway for reparations, how do we get Bridgetown Initiative and the outright call for reparations by the Commission to merge, to synchronize, to bolster each other? The Bridgetown Initiative is not only for Barbados. That's just the name because it was formulated, it was constructed. Like usually treaties take the name of the place where they were first established. So yeah, if the Bridgetown Initiative at the end of the day seems like it's a pathway to reparations, like where does it come in regarding the CARICOM Reparations Commission? And as I was saying, the Bridgetown Initiative is not only about Barbados. It's not even just about us in the Caribbean or CARICOM. But here is where we are. And so we need all hands on deck when it comes to the Bridgetown Initiative. I might be wrong, but I haven't heard any other country leader given a call to action as regards to the Bridgetown Initiative. So perhaps it's time for all hands to come on deck. And then it also reminded me of Sir Hilary Becker's publication. I think that's the one where I wrote it down. How Britain underdeveloped the Caribbean, a reparations response to Europe's legacy of plunder and poverty. So we have this big agenda, which is reparations, and we have the Bridgetown Initiative or the Bridgetown Agenda, which can be seen as a pathway to reparations, okay? And so I hear you, Prime Minister Mottley, and I understand what you're saying. You are saying what so many of us have been saying and calling for, which is the reformation of the international system, the reformation of the financial institutions, and basically the improvement and update of Bretton Woods institutions. And that's fair. We've all been calling for that. So I get that and I understand that. My question is, will that be all? And by that, I mean, I think I saw a tweet, I believe, from a fellow citizen of Barbados. And I would like to share that with you if we can get that on the screen as possible. And here it says, from a Barbadian, our optics on the global stage are amazing. Our reality is a crumbling framework with numerous committees who have no direction or credible solutions. We are a lost society from top to bottom. This sums up what has been, ruminated in my mind. Because I'm saying, I get Prime Minister Mottley's big picture. I get the big picture. And that is why I am asking the question, is it one or the other? Is Prime Minister Mottley saying that unless we get aid, which is, I think, in the Bridgetown Initiative, there's an ask for $100 billion US dollars of SDRs. Is Prime Minister Mottley saying, unless we get aid, we cannot tend to our citizens? As an independent state for 58 years, and please, I am not discrediting the argument of reparations. I am for reparations. It's long overdue. That is no question. but other leaders have managed somehow to progress their country forward in a really good way, despite receiving reparations. So again, I ask, is Prime Minister Mottley saying, and I don't think she is, but it begs the question, if we do not receive such, will all be lost? Is this the only way? And I'm asking this question because this approach is very top down in my view. And I am concerned for the lived realities and experiences of citizens and residents of Barbados. So it's a bit puzzling. It's a bit puzzling. It's puzzling because Barbados has progressed in spite the lack of reparations. So what is happening now? I do understand that there is a debt crisis. Is it the first one? I don't think so. Are our local leaders pushing the burden? Let me not say burden. I want to choose my words carefully because I'm not discrediting this reparation debate. I'm not discrediting. If I have to start a committee for reparations, I will. That's how much I'm also invested in this topic. But still, I can't turn a blind eye to what I'm hearing. And I haven't heard much about what the government of the time will do. In the meantime, what the government of the time is doing in the meantime, and I'm not fighting, I can't vote in Barbados, but as a political science student, and as a student of the University of the West Indies, I do believe that it is conversations such as what we're having now. That's the goal, right? Like we need spaces where we can discuss and reason and go back and forth with each other intellectually, academically, without it seeming like it's a fight. It's not a fight. I just want some clarity. Like, what is your plan now for the next 5 years? What is the plan? How are the people to have, quote unquote, a sufficiently good life whilst we wait on reparations? What is the plan for education whilst we wait on reparations? What is the plan for health whilst we wait on reparations? What is the overall vision for national and economic growth and development whilst we wait on reparations? And I think that is what I want to hear. That is what I wish I was able to pull out of all. I've listened to all 3 speeches at UNGA. I even went as far back as UNGA 74, I think. which was 5 years ago. So I get the big picture. It's valid, it's necessary. I think a committee needs to be formed with like either the CARICOM EU Committee on Reparations, and then you need a CARICOM Reparations Committee, like where each CARICOM country has a representative focused on reparations. That's just my opinion. That's how much, again, reparations, it's needed, it's important. It will be an ongoing topic. It has been, it's not new, right? But we are here now. People need food now. People need quality education now. People need access to sufficiently good health care now. People need affordable housing now. And, that's just where I wanted to take this debate. Okay. That's it for me. Thank you for listening. I very much look forward to comments, respectful comments, of course, your feedback, your WhatsApp messages, your Instagram messages. Sometimes I'm outside and, you go like, hey, and we start a conversation. All of these things I look forward to. Don't forget, subscribe, share this link. If you have Prime Minister Mottley's personal number, please share it with her too. If we can have a sit down and we go deeper into this thing, because we want to know what's going to happen on the ground. We love Prime Minister Mottley. We love what she represents. We love her call to action. But at the end of the day, she is elected to a populace who are looking to her for their, not for reparations, but for their growth and development within her jurisdiction. And this conversation can go on and on because, again, it begs the question about sovereignty, but I'm not going into that. So, yeah, subscribe, share, like, comment, hit us up on any social media platform. And I'll see you very soon. Thank you for listening.
Insightful, engaging, dynamic, authentic, empowering, informative, transformative, controversial, unbiased, impactful. This is Politics Aside with Roleece Brookes.